Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Big Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap as to what happened during today's matches, my time, that of course being Friday's matches, as well as what you guys can expect going into today's matches, your time, that of course being Saturday's matches. Now, Friday, I went perfect. As you guys can see on the screen, I had the Toronto Ultra toppling the Mutineers with a 3-1 scoreline, and I did say that the Mutineers were likely to take the S&D if they were going to take anything at all. I thought Toronto would likely sweep the respawns, and if the Mutineers were going to take a map, I thought it would be the Surge. Now, with all that out the way, let's get right into the stats. So looking at map one, though, of course, being Gary Hardpoint, this was one that actually went to time, which is kind of interesting. We haven't really had a lot of hardpoints go to time, but I feel like almost every hardpoint that's gone to time has featured either the Mutineers or the Ultra, so it was kind of fitting that these two would get a hardpoint that went down to time and likely what is to be probably their last match of the season, unless they see each other at the major or at champs. Um, but yeah, enough of that aside. Looking at the stats, Insight had a 1.09, Bance had a 1.35. He was frying. Kemi had a 0.7. Very, very, very unlikely for him to, repeat this, and he obviously didn't. And Kleenex went even. Looking at the Mutineers side, Skies had a 1.08, Nep had a 0.87, Havoc had a 0.92, and Wake had a 1.08. So looking at the sub duo on the Mutineers side in comparison to the sub duo on the Ultra side, there was clearly a very stark difference between Cammy and Bance on the Toronto Ultra side. And Havoc and Neptune, I mean, they're doing pretty well, relatively speaking. But really, to beat a team like the Ultra, you need your subs and your ARs to be on the same page. And the subs just weren't on the same page here. They were just having a rough go of it. And such is to be expected when playing a top tier team like Ultra. But if they wanted to win, they really need to kick it into another gear, and everybody needs to be playing their best COD. The map was very, very exciting. It went all the way down to the wire. It was around 11, but the Mutineers were able to walk away with it behind a very, very strong performance from their AR duo of Skies and Wake. So looking at the stats, Insight, of course, had a 0.89, Vance had a 0.67, Cammy had a matching 0.67, and Kleenex went even. So the sub duo really, really struggled here. Well, Vance and Cammy aren't the sub duo, but the sub duo of Kleenex and Vance, they struggled a little bit on map 2, but Kleenex was able to turn it around towards the end. And then looking at the Mutineers, Skies was just having, he had a 2 KD, Nep had a 1.17, Wake had a 1.43, and Havoc just had a bit of an off game with a 0.63. Obviously, in Surge, KD means a little bit less because at most you'll have 20 interactions if you're having a once in a lifetime kind of game like Crim did on Warhawk S&D during COD Ghosts. Still remember that, still pain. It's just like it happened yesterday. So looking at map 3, of course that being Gary Control, this was very, very close. Florida Mutineers ripped off, I believe, 2 straight. No. They traded back and forth. So the first team to win an offense was, I believe, Florida. They went up 2-1. Toronto responded, winning their offense. And then it went to a round 5. Toronto had defense somehow. I guess they had more kills. And then they won the round 5. So, of course, looking at the stats, Insight had a 1.29, Bance had a 1.41, Cammy had a 1.56, and Kleenex had a 0.88. So, looking at it, of course, the AR duo of Insight and Cammy were frying, and the sub duo wasn't on the same page, but in the end, it didn't really matter. Of course, Bance was just playing so well today that it didn't really matter that Kleenex had kind of an off day. And looking at the Mutineer side, I mean, they just struggled across the board, right? Like Skies had a 0.75, Neptune had a 0.68, Wake had a 0.81, and Havoc was the only player going even or positive with an even KD. So really, in the KD department, the Mutineers were struggling. They couldn't really slay with the Ultra consistently. They had their rounds where they dominated. Of course, obviously, if it wasn't a 3-2, then that would be reflected in the scoreline, right? But they had a few rounds where they were in control, but no pun intended. But the Ultra were just too much for them, like I said they would be, and they walked away from the round 5 with the win. Now looking at the raid hardpoint, that of course being map 4, this was kind of a wash. It was 250 to 137, and I really wasn't expecting it to be this much of a wash because coming into this, the Mutineers were undefeated on raid hardpoint. They were 6-0, but I don't think they had ever played the Ultra on this map. Maybe I'll look at the stats when I edit this, but I don't think they played the Ultra on this map in their pathway to that 6-0 record. So they played the Ultra. They just got out rotated, and honestly, that's the real story here. They got out rotated and they got broken a few times, and that was it. Like Ultra Chain P1 and P2 together really, really well. and I believe they went up like 115 to like 6 or something after the first two hills. Then they got garage. It was like 140 or something to like 16 by the time you get to B4. Mutineers had a decent hold there, but that was the game. So looking at the stats, it's not really reflected, but it was definitely a game where the Ultra had map control the entire time, and that's why they were able to win. And like I said, looking at the stats, it's not really reflected. Like if you look at it, Inside at a 1.27, Vance had a 1.08, Cammy had a 1.06, and Kleenex won even. Like they weren't massively outslaying them, but they did win by a wide margin. And then, of course, looking at the Mutineers side, Skies went even, Neptune at a 0.89, Havoc at a 0.95, and Wake at a 0.83. So the Ultra walk away with the Series 3-1 here, like I honestly thought they would. And I didn't think that they would really be tested too much by the Mutineers. The Mutineers are a great team, don't get me wrong, but Ultra, like I said yesterday, they're in the S tier of teams right now in the season, and they really proved it in this matchup. They just fried. Looking at the series stats, Insight had a 1.16. Thank God I got that guy on my fantasy team with the waivers, man. If I didn't have him on my team, I'd be sad. Vance had a 1.21. Cammy had a 0.99. And Kleenex, of course, had a 0.96. So even though Kleenex struggled today by all accounts, I mean, he still dropped a 0.96. Like, that's not bad at all. That's a pretty solid performance considering he was having one of his worst series that I can remember, at least recently. Now, on the Mutineers side, the only player that really did exceptionally well, I guess you could say, is Skies. He had a 1.04. Exceptional is a relative term there in comparison to everybody else. Neptune had a 0.84, Havoc had a 0.92, and Wake had a 0.96. So no one did too badly on the Mutineers. It's not like somebody got tucked to bed and they had like a negative 35 performance. Ravens. But you know, they just couldn't pull out the dub here. They played them very tight the entire series, and that's very encouraging for the Mutineers going into, of course, the major and champs later on. They've won 3 matches, they've lost 1, and their last matchup is against one of the grunts. So they should go 4-1. They should have winners bracket secured, and they should likely have second seed in the pool, which is great for them. And then looking at our second matchup of the day, we had the Dallas Empire taking on the Seattle Surge, and that was a 3-0. So, yeah, we'll just call it. No, I'm kidding. But, yeah, looking at the series stats, you guys know the rules here. We don't do map-by-map stats for 3-0s, just the series stats. It takes too long to mull over the stats if it's 3-0, and it's just brutal for the team, right? I mean, why embarrass these guys any further? Bad enough having a 3-0 on your record. So looking at the series stats, Vivid had a 0.98, Krim had a 1.33, Illy had a 1.04, and of course Shotzi went absolutely bonkers with a 1.47. Obviously, they only played 3 maps, so this is a very small sample size, and KDs are going to be a little bit boosted or like chalked, just given the limited amount of kills and deaths in 3 maps, right? But looking at the Surge side, I mean, they were ultra chalked, no pun intended. The only player that really played well was Big P. He had a 1.53. Bersini had a 0.89. Octane, oh man, he had a 0.51. That makes me sad to see. And Classic had a 0.71. So just a rough day for the Surge. Kind of what we expect from them. Oh man, Octane went minus 29, bro. All right, I'm not looking at this anymore. So yeah, rough day for the Surge, and we'll skip ahead to, of course, tomorrow's matches in the sake of time and just to not kick a horse while they're down, or beat a dead horse rather, not or kick a man while he's down. I just melded those two together. I don't know why. Whatever. So looking at tomorrow's matches, we of course kick things off with the Legion taking on the Ravens, and as you guys can see on the screen, I had the Legion walking away with a 3-1 victory. I think that likely London will take a control. I think control is a map, or excuse me, a game mode that's kind of 50-50 for the Paris side. I do think that Paris is stronger in hardpoint. London is very, very competitive with them, don't get me wrong. But I just think Paris, I mean, after beating a team like Thieves, who looked relatively good against some of our best teams in the league, I think that they will make easy work of a team like the London Royal Ravens, especially if Alex has an Alex-like performance, recent Alex, not BO4 Alex. If that happens, then I definitely have the Legion walking away with a 3-1 and sweeping the S&D and the hard points, of course. But if Alex shows up tomorrow, then I think it's game 5. But regardless, I think the Legion walk away with the victory. I think that going into the major, since winners is pretty much secured, considering the fact that Optic will likely beat Thieves, more on that in a second, I think the Legion will come out trying to fry. And I think that likely the Ravens will realize that like one of the bottom 4 teams has a chance to really play spoiler at the major and probably let it happen. Or maybe they'll be petty and they'll say, hey, we want to keep you out of the major, Paris. We want all of us bottom 4 grunt teams to suffer. We don't want you to have more earnings than us or pro points or CDL points, whatever. So who knows what happens, but enough rambling. I think it's a 3-1 for the Legion, and I'll call it there. And our next series is the Mutineers taking on the Rokkr. And given the form that both teams have been in this stage, I think that it's going to be a very, very competitive matchup. I think the Rokkr have been playing their respawns pretty well. Their search has been pretty solid, but there's room for improvement, definitely, consistency-wise. So I'm thinking that's a 3-1 for the Mutineers, especially coming off a very tough loss against the Ultra today, my time, of course, yesterday, your time. I think that they'll be looking to rebound and really just get back on the right path to close out stage 5 going into the major. They want to get back in the win column after having their first loss of the stage. And I think that Minnesota is likely to be the team to give them their win to close it out. I don't think they'll go 3-2 to close it out. I think they'll go 4-1. I think they'll finally secure a winner's bracket. And I think they'll finally make a decent run at a major tournament. Wait, talk that. I think they would play Optic round 1 because they'd be the 2nd seed from Group B, and Optic would be the 1 seed from Group A. No, okay, I don't think they're making the run this time. Maybe in losers, but I don't see them beating Optic at the major. So yeah, enough rambling. 3-1 Mutineers, my call. I think the Mutineers likely sweep the respawns, and I think Rokkr will most likely take the S&D from them. But if Rokkr are able to take a respawn, it goes to a game 5. And if it's a game 5, it's a real toss-up to me because Mutineers have been very strong in game 5s lately. But the Rokkr are a really good search team, and I think that they're a better search team than the Mutineers just because of their decisive play calls and really their mid-round adjustments. One thing I don't like about the Mutineers and their play style is that their mid-round adjustments are just kind of lacking in search at times. Some games they really work well together, and then other games it feels like the Neptune show or the Wake show or the Sky show or the Havoc show, and you can't really play hero ball and consistently win S&D. So realistically, I think it's 3-1 Mutineers, but honestly, I think it could go either way. There's a lot of volatility here. And I think that the Rokkr are a team who have really upset like this multiple times throughout the year, and they can't be counted out. So 3-1 Mutineers is my decisive call, but my heart is saying it could go to a game 5, and Rokkr could win. And then in our last matchup of the day, we have Optic taking on the Thieves. And I think now that they have that first seed secured, they're going to let some air out the balloon and just say, let's breathe. Let's try to really expand our map pool so we can make a deep run at this tournament and get to the winner's bracket against FaZe. We all know that FaZe is most likely going to be in the winner's finals again. The grand finals again. And I think we finally get the FaZe versus Optic match in the grand finals that I have been cursing all year long. I think both teams are in the right form, and I think that honestly, FaZe will be saying, "Hey, we want to get back to Optic this time. We want to put hands to them, and we want to put the smackdown on them because they beat them obviously this week." And those guys, they're all friends out of the game, so there's likely a lot of competition going on because you want to play your homies, right? You want to smoke them. So I think that Optic will come out tomorrow and make a statement against the Thieves. I'm going to say it's a 3-0. I'll say it's a 3-0 right here. I think Optic's map pool is very favorable for them. And it's also Thieves map pool, right? Like the maps that Optic is typically very strong on, or the maps that Thieves are typically very strong on. Checkmate, Optic is obviously the best checkmate team in the game without a question. And Thieves, they're one of the best checkmate teams right behind them. So a lot of their map set, and Moscow, right? Like Moscow is a very strong map for Thieves, and it's also a strong map for Optic. So a lot of their map pool intersects and overlaps. That's why I think Optic will walk away with it tomorrow. And just, their form right now is undeniable, right? They're 4-0 on the stage. They beat FaZe, best team in the world. They handed them their 5th loss on the season. And I think they're going to ride that momentum all the way to the major and through the major. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, those are my calls for tomorrow. I'm thinking 3-1 Legion, 3-1 Mutineers, and 3-0 Optic. And I think it's going to be a very, very exciting day full of great action. So I hope you guys enjoy all the action tomorrow. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. Don't forget to like, comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. Share it with a friend, family member, or anyone you know, just if you enjoy this and they enjoy COD or you just like the sound of my voice. Any of that's cool. And if you got this far in the video, comment Neptune is not a cheater. So I know that you guys are actually watching till the end. And I'll wrap it up for me. I hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night wherever you may be on this beautiful planet, as I've said about 8 times this video. And I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy all the COD and stay safe. Peace out.